and gentlemen, I am Attia Noor, resident of Grand Forks Public School District. I have two elementary school-aged children attending a Grand Forks Public School. I am also a doctoral student at UND Department of Educational Leadership, and I am here to testify against House Bill 1461. House Bill 1461 proposed to move away from Common Core standards and smarter balance testing. North Dakota adopted Common Core standards just a few years ago, and a good chunk of resources, including money and time, invested in the process. Now deciding to get rid of Common Core standards means waste of all that resources and public funding invested in the process. Salberg, author of Finnish Lessons, mentioned in his book Finnish Lessons that it takes 30 to 40 years to see the results after implementation of any reform in education sector. So we need to wait till we see the results of the implementation of Common Core standards. And being a parent, I do not see the point of moving away from Common Core standards just because it came from federal government does not mean it's necessarily a bad thing, and it takes away local control from the state of North Dakota. Hess and McShane, authors of Common Core Meets Education Reform, say that Common Core standards do not dictate curriculum or pedagogy practices. Common Core standards are there only to provide a guideline or a blueprint for curriculum. Demographics are changing in Grand Forks in North Dakota. As a parent, I would like to see common standards across the country as long as I'm moving within the United States. My husband recently got a job in Philadelphia. If tomorrow I decide to move to Philadelphia, I want to have same Common Core standards as I have here. And I know many parents who move out of the states. Now when I think about them, it's really difficult to understand when they go to another state, their children are going to study total different things, or how it works. Because Grand Forks, or in broader sense, state of North Dakota attracts lots of international students around the globe. And those students, after spending few years in the state of North Dakota, most of them offered a job in another state within the United States, and many of them actually eventually become the citizens of this country. So for them it is very difficult to do not have Common Core standards which align the curriculum throughout the country. Another thing this bill proposes is the get rid of smarter balance testing, which I do not understand. If we get rid of smarter balance testing, how we plan to evaluate our students? If we end up having another standardized testing, what's the benefit or what's the point of doing that? Other than that, I understand the concern people have about standardized testing, but there is another side of that, which is, as a parent, I know eventually my children have to go through that, have to take some standardized test, whether it's SAT or MCAT or any other test in order to go to any high regard profession. So if they are not prepared for standardized testing, how would they deal with that? And I know, as we read in our doctoral classes, Finnish lessons, yes, Finland minimized the standardized testing, and Finland is one of the top scoring country on PISA test. But what about the other top scoring or high scoring countries on PISA test? They do, all of those countries did not minimize the standardized testing. As a matter of fact, most of them have many standardized testing, and yes, I see that there are some negative points associated with those standardized testing, but that is extreme. Why don't we just take a middle ground on that? So I urge the education committee members to oppose this House Bill 1461. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attia Noor. Okay. Right, it's lovely again to have a perspective. We've talked a lot about migration into our state, and so it's really important that we do get that perspective actually at this meeting. So I'd like to thank you very much, Attia, for coming and giving us the point of view of migrants into our state. So, have we got some questions, committee?
Can you speak about how the common standards helps like migrants in our country? I mean, like how does that help the students as opposed to?
Sure, being a parent, by having those standards, I know what my children are going to learn or study. So, as I said, my husband got a job in Philadelphia. Now if I decide to move to Philadelphia, I have this peace of mind that I know what my children are going to study, to learn, so I can help them. Because to me, I am mainly responsible for my children's education. Schools are there to help.
I have a question. So you seem like a very informed parent. Do you think the majority of our students' parents are knowledgeable about Common Core, and what, if they are or not, why? What do you think contributes to that?
I know there are many people, many parents who are against Common Core standards, and the research I did, I have been very often talk to other parents, and I had the opportunity to do internship in quite a few public schools as well as parochial schools in Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. And I learned that parents who are opposed to Common Core standards, the main reason is they do not know what Common Core standards are. So it's educators' job to communicate with parents.
I think that's a great point, Mrs. Dia. I think one of the things, if I could bring it back also to the migration piece, I think, well, I understand your personal experiences may be different, and life happens, but I think is our job as politicians, and our job as schools, is to make ourselves appealing to other people, to bring them here, to bring them to our state. So why not let us have the ability to increase our standards independently? And I think that's where I'm at, is that I'd like that ability, that freedom to do that, you know, and to make sure that that happens. But I mean, I see your point, but really I feel strongly about my state and bringing more people here.
And
is there a way we can do that?
And my question would be also for you, as a parent, are you helping your children in their education with the standards or with the curriculum? We've heard many speakers today talking that the Common Core is not a curriculum. And so as a parent myself, when my children bring their homework home, I'm not looking at standards, I'm looking at curriculum from my understanding what I've heard today. And so if you could maybe clarify that a little bit to help out.
Sure. What I do every year at the start of school year, I meet with the teachers of my children and ask them what they are going to learn throughout the year, what is the syllabus. And after spending a few years here, now I notice that teachers are referring me to Common Core standards, and they just start to tell me that you can go to this website and there is a guideline which will be helpful. So what I personally do, I go through those standards and I pick the books by myself, not the textbook that school is teaching. Yes, sometimes I borrow those books as well. But I try to, and especially, I was not born in this country, and my children are bilingual, and I want them to learn their parents' culture as well. So I picked books from other countries. Some books I picked from Pakistan, some books I picked some books from UK. So I use those books, and in my mind, I always try to make the relation with the Common Core standards. So I know when the time comes for state testing, my children will not do bad on those assessments.
I think you had mentioned about the adoption of Common Core and the length of time. Could you reiterate how long you would like to see the Common Core be held in the state before we revise it or take another look at it?
Well, as I mentioned, Salbert, who is a researcher, scholar, educator, he mentioned 30 to 40 years. So we need a good amount of years here. And the other thing is, let's say if we pass this bill and decide to develop North Dakota state standard as proposed as this bill proposes, what will happen? I don't understand how those standards would be different from Common Core standards, and the amount of time and the resources that we need to develop those standards. And in the meantime, the bill proposes that each district will use whatever they like to. So that means today I'm living in Grand Forks. Tomorrow, if I move out of Grand Forks, I don't know what my children will be dealing with.
Right, well, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Right, I'm Rob.
Attia.